After gaining an understanding of the industry's general economic characteristics, industry and competitive analysis should focus on the competitive dynamics of the industry. Competitive forces are those factors that influence the competitive position of a company in an industry or market. The nature and subtleties of competitive forces are never the same from one industry to another, and must be wholly understood to accurately assess the company's current situation. Far and away, the most powerful and widely used tool for assessing the strength of an industry's competitive forces is the 5 forces model for competition. The 5 forces model, as seen here, holds that competitive forces affecting industry attractiveness go beyond rivalry among competing sellers and include pressures stemming from 4 coexisting sources. The 5 competitive forces affecting industry attractiveness are listed here. Competitive pressures stemming from the buyer's bargaining power, coming from companies in other industries to win buyers over other substitute products, stemming from supplier bargaining power, associated with the threat of new entrants into the market, and 5th and finally competitive pressures associated with rivalry among competing sellers to attract customers. This is usually the strongest of the 5 competitive forces. Whether seller-buyer relationships represent a minor or significant competitive force depends on whether some or many buyers have sufficient bargaining leverage to obtain price concessions and other favorable terms, and the extent to which buyers are price sensitive. The leverage that buyers have in negotiating favorable terms of the sale can range from weak to strong. Companies in one industry are vulnerable to competitive pressure from actions of companies in another industry whenever buyers view products of the 2 industries as good substitutes. Whether the suppliers of industry members represent weak or strong competitive force depends on the degree to which suppliers have sufficient bargaining power to influence the terms and conditions of supply in their favor. Suppliers with strong bargaining power can erode industry profitability by charging industry members higher prices, passing costs on to them, and limiting their opportunities to find better deals. Several factors determine whether the threat of new companies entering the marketplace presents a significant competitive pressure. One factor relates to the size of the pool of likely entry candidates and resources in their command. As a rule, the bigger the pool of entry candidates, the stronger the threat of potential entry. This is especially true when some of the likely entry candidates have ample resources to support entry into a new line of business. The strongest of the 5 competitive forces is nearly always rivalry among competing sellers of a product or service. In effect, a market is a competitive battlefield where there's no end to the campaign for buyer patronage. Rival sellers are prone to employ whatever weapons they have in their business arsenal to improve their market positions, strengthen their market position with buyers, and earn good profits. The strategy formation challenge is to craft a competitive strategy that, at the very least, allows a company to hold its own against rivals and that ideally produces a competitive edge over rivals. Scrutinizing each of the 5 competitive forces one by one provides a powerful diagnosis of what competition is like in a given market.